On December 27, 2013, a frantic 911 call came through to emergency services in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A young boy's voice could be heard, pleading through sobs. "Mom, stop!" The dispatcher, alarmed, listened as the call captured the sounds of yelling, crying, and what appeared to be violence happening in real time. Moments later, the call disconnected. Police traced the number to a modest home on Carlisle Boulevard, NE. When officers arrived, they were met with a tragic scene. 9-year-old Omaree Varela lay unresponsive on the floor. He had severe bruising across his body. Paramedics tried to revive him, but it was too late. Omaree was dead. Omaree was a quiet, polite boy who attended Governor Bent Elementary School. Teachers described him as well-behaved, kind, and shy. But they had noticed things: occasional bruises, long sleeves in hot weather, and a reluctance to talk about his home life. The signs were subtle, but they were there. The school had contacted child welfare services in the past, and records show that Omaree had been removed from his mother's care briefly in 2012. He had told investigators about being hit, cursed at, and feeling afraid. Yet somehow, after a brief stay in foster care, he was returned to his family. That decision would later haunt the agencies responsible for protecting him. Omaree lived with his mother, Cynthia Varela Casas, and her husband, Omaree's stepfather, Stephen Casas. From the outside, it may have seemed like a struggling but functional family. Inside, it was something else entirely: a household of neglect, anger, and brutal discipline that went far beyond punishment. According to court documents, on the day of his death, Omaree had come home and trapped dirt on the carpet. That was enough to trigger his mother's rage. During her interview with police, Cynthia initially claimed that Omaree had fallen and hit his head. But inconsistencies quickly emerged in her story. The 911 call, pulled from records, clearly captured her yelling and threatening the boy. Later, she would confess. She admitted to kicking Omaree repeatedly, including in the stomach, and claimed it was because she was frustrated and angry. The autopsy revealed the extent of the abuse. Omaree had bruising to his head, chest, back, arms, and abdomen. He had injuries consistent with long-term abuse, some old, some new. His death was ruled a homicide, caused by blunt force trauma. The revelation sent shockwaves through the city. How could a boy known to the system, a boy who had cried for help more than once, be allowed to die in his own home? Cynthia Varela Casas was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death, and tampering with evidence. Her mugshot, expression cold and vacant, appeared across every news outlet. The public outcry was swift and fierce. Protesters gathered outside government buildings demanding reform in New Mexico's Child Protective Services. Investigations into the handling of Omaree's case revealed systemic failures, missed visits, miscommunications, and a hesitance to permanently remove children from abusive households. In court, the prosecution argued that Cynthia had a pattern of cruelty toward her son. They played the 911 call to the jury, a haunting piece of evidence that included Omaree begging for the abuse to stop. Jurors sat in stunned silence as the audio captured a child's last terrified moments. The defense, with little ground to stand on, tried to argue mental instability and parental stress, but it wasn't enough. The evidence was overwhelming. In 2016, Cynthia Varela Casas was found guilty of second-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death. She was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Her husband, Stephen Casas, was later convicted of child abuse in a separate trial, stemming from his involvement and failure to intervene. Omaree's story became a painful lesson, one that highlighted how children can fall through the cracks even when the system knows their name.